I don't even know if I will finish this video because I am deeply heartbroken. And now the question is, why am I doing this video? I was asking myself the same thing. Why do I have to do this video at this time? I don't have to do this video. And because I lost my grandmother, people will understand it makes sense not to produce a video. But then the reason why I'm making this video right now is because the fact that you are you does not make you immune to the realities of life. Same applies to me. The fact that I am me might be viewed as a public figure. It doesn't make me immune to the realities of life. And that is why I'm doing this video right now, as a way of coming out and being open and being myself. And I'm recording this video right now. It's a Wednesday. Last night, Tuesday night, my grandmother passed away. And when it happened, it felt like, okay, it's fine. I understand. She was old. She's been sick for too long. And she was tired. She was going through a lot of pain. So it makes sense for her to just go and rest. So I understood. And everything was okay. I seemed fine. Until this morning when I woke up. First of all, I didn't manage to sleep. But those few hours that I slept, when I woke up, I was still feeling okay. Thought I was fine. It made sense that it's time for her to move on. Then I checked up on the people around me. My cousins, my sisters, and I checked up on Rudy. Because I know he was the heart of my grandmother. So I'm like, hey boy, how you doing? Are you okay? He told me it's painful, but it's gonna be fine. And he asked me, how are you? Mind you, I'm still fine at the time. And that's when I took out my phone as I'm trying to respond how I am. I lost it. It was a mess. All hell broke loose. I cried. Like really, really cried. I've never cried like that before. Now everything made sense. And the whole day, the whole morning, I've been crying. But I just want to take you back to how all of this happened. Small story of how she fell sick and how she died. 15 years ago, she was attacked by stroke. She had a stroke attack. And after that, she had a series of illnesses that almost took her life, but she survived. And just a few years back, this grandmother I'm talking about is my father's mother. So she's been a supportive structure to my dad at the church. All activities, she would always be the first one to partake in. Even those activities that required a financial input, she would always be the one to pledge or to offer first. So a few years ago, there was a vision to build an auditorium, a church auditorium. And she pledged. Mind you, she's sick. She was sickly at that time. She's like, I am going to partake in this project and I want to build this church and see it fully built before I die. And I'm pledging that before I die, I am going to contribute an amount of 10,000 Rand. She was a pensioner. So she pledged money from her pension to build the church. Long story short, time went on, the church was fully built. We finished building the church in 2020. And when the church was done, She then said, "Now I can die. I have finished my pledge. Here are all my receipts." She was keeping track of all the money she was donating to the church. And she's like, "You see, I've covered my 10,000 and even more. I've been paying my tithes since I started this thing, and I'm still going to pay until I die. But right now I'm happy. My heart is at peace." Now that the church is fully built, I want to tell you guys how my funeral is going to go. She started planning her own funeral. Everyone who entered her house, she would explain, map out the whole vision of how her funeral is going to take place. She started from how it's going to start, how we are going to be dressed, how it's going to go, how it's going to proceed, all the way to the gravesite. She called us one time, her grandchildren, and she explained this plan of how she's going to be buried. And the part that really, really touched me was how she planned how she's going to leave the church and go to the gravesite. And the plan is all her grandkids are going to be dressed in traditional attire, because she was a traditional woman and she loved the traditional dances. So all of us, the grandkids, will be dressed in the traditional attire. And we are going to line up in the front of the hearse, just in front of her. And we are going to start marching. We are going to dance. And I am going to be leading the pack, because I'm the Tsonga warrior. I'm her Tsonga warrior. She has faith in me. She even bought me the Tsonga attire that I have. That's the attire I graduated in for my first degree and for my second degree. That's because she was so dear to me. I decided to dedicate my degrees, all my studies, to her. She even gave me her husband's attire to say, "My husband was a warrior. I want you to have this, because you have just taken everything from your grandfather." She gave me the attire, and I was so in love with the attire. It was so dear to me. And she said to me, "This is what you must be wearing on that day of my funeral. You're going to be leading everyone from the front. And we are going to be dancing from the church all the way to the gravesite." Now here there's a problem. Because the gravesite is far. The gravesite is super far from the church. So somebody asked the question like, "Kokwani, so what's going to happen now? Because the gravesite is far from the church. You think it's going to make sense for people to be dancing all the way from the church to the gravesite?" She's like, "You know what? That's not my problem. You'll figure it out. What I want is for you guys to do what I'm telling you." So right now, we are all stressed because she gave us a problem. We are all stressed right now, and we don't know if we have the strength to dance all the way from the church to the graveside, dancing. But that's what she wanted. And what really touched my heart is the fact that she herself attended her own funeral. For someone to lay out a plan of how things should go, they were there and they saw this thing turning out. And she made peace with the fact that she is gonna go. Unfortunately, it took a while for us to register that in our minds, to understand that there is gonna be a time where indeed she's gonna go. When she explained this whole story, it was so passionate to her that it was happening in real time in her head. such that when someone is trying to interfere with her explaining this story of how the funeral is going to proceed, she'll be like, hey, wait, I want to disturb a man. Man. Meaning, shut up, because you're disturbing me, you'll mess up my function. So it was something that she knew was going to happen, and she made peace with it. But the problem comes with us who are left behind, trying to deal with this. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought it was easy to understand. But I realized that life is really, really precious. Doesn't matter how much you try and think around it, make sense of it. Life is really, really precious. And in trying to make sense of this whole situation, I cried so much today. I've never cried like this. And I was so scared of doing this video such that I was prepared to cry during this video. I'm actually proud of myself up to so far that I haven't broken into tears. But the fact is, what makes us human is where we come from and who we are attached to. My grandmother was the stem where I come from. She was the root. Then there was my father, and there's me. This whole lineage is what makes me who I am. And when such things happen, it brought me back to understand that I am human. The fact that I'm trying to be here and educate other people, motivate other people, does not make me any immune to the realities that are happening in life. So I make this video to tell everybody that has been going through pain, that have gone through such pain of losing their loved ones. We're living in COVID times. People are dying left, right, and center. It didn't make sense to me until now. And I'm here to say I understand right now. And the one thing that is very important to do when you're faced with such a situation, do not act like you are a rock. Do not act like you are strong. It's okay to be strong, but it's not okay to suppress what you feel. You are trying to move on, but you're not going to move on if you are neglecting the pain you are feeling. You need to accept that you are in pain. Just like how I accepted that indeed I am in pain. Although I wanted to start off as I'm not in pain, but the body is way smarter than your mind. And that's what happened to me. I realized that my body and my feelings were way smarter than my mind. So it's important to feel the emotions in you whenever you are faced with a situation of heartbreak, disappointment. It's important. Feel whatever that's going on with you and cry it out. Because if you don't cry it out and bottle it inside, you will move. You will follow those who have passed. It's time we normalize being in touch with our feelings and emotions. You cannot neglect who you are. Your feelings are the truest sense of what makes you, you. We are not smarter than our bodies and our feelings. It's important to feel and to react to those feelings. Then you can work on the next steps of getting your recovery. And I just want to read you something I learned from Dr. Miles to help you recover. What do you do to keep your identity and to recover from a hardship that you're going through? Number one, There are things in life you can't explain, and that's okay. Number 2, there are questions in life you will never have an answer to, and that's okay. 3, there are things in life you cannot change. Know your limits. Number 4, there are things in life we cannot control, and that's fine. 5, there are things in life you cannot stop, such as death. You can't stop it. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how much you have. When the time has come, it shall happen, and you can't do anything about it. Number 6, there are things in life that you cannot be responsible for. This happens so much in such instances. Last week before my grandmother died, I've been thinking of calling my grandmother. I was like, I need to call my grandmother and check up on her. I procrastinated. I didn't call her. I was like, I need to check up on her. And I would remember the songs she used to sing. And I was like, I'm going to call her. Then she died. I didn't call her. I had so much regret when I was thinking about this. But this is the message that also made me to be free. That the fact that I didn't call her is not my responsibility. Or I was not responsible for her death just because I didn't call her. I was trying to take responsibility of the guilt and regret, thinking it's going to change anything. But there are certain things in life that you know you shouldn't be responsible for. And that's fine. Number 7, there are things in life only God knows. He only knows and He understands. So let God be God. Focus on being you. It's going to help you. Lastly, number 8, know what you can and what you cannot do. Know your limits. Lastly, never expect nothing to change. One thing that's guaranteed in life is change, including the changing of dynamics, relationship dynamics. You've been with one person for too long or for a very long time. Understand that that situation might change. You might just lose them. I lost my grandmother. It's the way life is. And you know what needs to happen? Life needs to go on. And that's okay. When you understand these things, you will protect yourself. You cannot save the next person until you save yourself. You are the priority. Focus on making yourself safe and protected first. This understanding of the things I outlined here is going to protect you from the guilt, regret. I had planned to do this with this person. Now they passed. I had promised to do this for this person and now they passed. Maybe if I had done it, things would have turned out a different way. Look, you are not responsible for it. And for as long as you keep that guilt in yourself, you are now entrapping yourself and you are going to follow. Because your heart is going to be full. Before you know it, you will die. Free yourself. You are not responsible for anything. If there was anything you were planning on doing with a person that passed, they passed. Let them go. Allow yourself to understand. This doesn't mean you are neglecting your feelings. Still be in touch with your feelings, but also be in touch with the reality that life has to move on. With this being said, this was a tribute to my grandmother. I loved her so much, and now she's gone. And I'm not here to speak to her and tell her to rest in peace because she cannot hear me. But I'm here to tell you guys that are still alive that you can still make it even when you lose your loved ones, just like I did. And what needs to happen right now is life has got to go on. And this is a video of my grandmother singing my song. It's finished.
The miracle perspective is in the area. The miracle perspective is in the area. The miracle perspective is in the
Angazanga sibonale, amaganga talame. Angazanga talame. Angazanga asibonale.
Yes.
Imama nanga talame. Angazanga mwadi tegen dipunti la matu.